Hey guys, before we begin, I just want to commemorate our first 100 subscribers by saying thanks for being a part of the community here on Nocturne, and I hope we can continue to relive the memories these bands and their music gave us all. And shout out to Commodore 64 for today's topic. If you have any ideas for a vid, you already know what to do, just drop a comment. So yeah, thanks again guys, now on to the video. The first thing to understand about Team Sleep is that we were never supposed to know about Team Sleep. The second thing to understand about Team Sleep is that it is impossible to talk about Team Sleep without talking about Deftones. When Chino Moreno was attending C.K. McClatchy High School, he met his Deftones bandmates Steph Carpenter and Abe Cunningham. But despite Deftones being a metal band, Chino was not really into metal at that point. He preferred electronic stuff, with his favorite bands being Depeche Mode and The Cure. But Chino also made friends with a dude named Todd Wilkinson in the 10th grade. They didn't jam together, but they remained friends after high school. According to Ultimate Guitar, Chino got expelled due to drug use. Nevertheless, Chino and Deftones hit the big time, releasing their debut album, Adrenaline, in October 1995 on Maverick Records. But 1 year prior to its release, Todd, who would eventually become a teacher, linked up with Chino, the budding rock star, and bought a 4-track cassette recorder with the purpose of making music together. Chino admitted that he feared that it was stolen, but they paid $60 for it, splitting the cost down the middle. Todd recorded guitar first and would then give the recorder and tapes to Chino for him to sing over it. A year later, right as Adrenaline was about to be released, DJ Crook, aka Crook One, aka John Molino, met Chino at Todd Wilkinson and Frank Delgado's apartment in Sacramento. Crook said, "We got to talking and I played him a demo cassette tape of some hip hop stuff I had made, and he listened to the whole thing. He then played me the Adrenaline album, which was about to be released soon. The very first thing they made together was the remix for Be Quiet and Drive, which was a lo-fi edit of the single on Deftones' second album, Around the Fur. Now, if you don't know this song, go listen to it and tell me it isn't prototypical Team Sleep. Here we have a softer and more intimate Chino with acoustic guitar provided by Jonah Matranga from Far, and Crook's drum sample made on an Emu SP1200. Its texture may not have been as warm as future Team Sleep songs, but the energy is similar. But it isn't even as cold as a fan favorite Team Sleep song, which I'll talk about in a bit. Meanwhile, Todd started to collaborate with Crook, and the fabled 4-track recorder got paired with Crook's own recorder, and the cassettes had 3 parents attending to them as they continued their silent project with no name. But now that Crook was adding the beats, these tunes were turning into actual songs. Then the year 2000 rolled around and Deftones released White Pony. Of course, if you've heard the album, there's a particular song that is somewhat different. It's Teenager. Chino wrote the lyrics when he was 15 after a bad date he had when he was living with his grandparents in Arizona. Teenager was supposed to be a Team Sleep song. Again, we hear a cold tone much like on the acoustic cut of Be Quiet and Drive, with a simple harmony from the guitar and sampling from Crook. At first I swore it was Frank Delgado who did it because he joined Deftones when White Pony came out, but the genesis of the song was a Crook sample. At this point, Team Sleep still wasn't a thing, but it was clear that they had a presence. The only problem was they weren't a band. Talks about an album began sometime in 2000, and in 2001, Chino came up with the name Team Sleep, to which Todd and Crook agreed. The three amigos went to Seattle in May 2001 to record with longtime Deftones producer Terry Date, where they recorded 12 instrumentals. In June, Wilkinson recruited math rock drummer Zach Hill, allowing for even more experimentation. And in September, Helium's Mary Timoney recorded 3 more songs with the band. At some point in 2001, Mike Patton loaned his talents as well, and in December, the band played 11 shows along the West Coast, and recruited one more friend along the way. Sonny Mayugba from Fallacy helped out Todd with guitars since he didn't fancy his technical ability that much, had never played live before, and because some of the songs needed multiple guitars. If the name Fallacy rings a bell, that's because that's the band Abe Cunningham was in before he joined Deftones. All this work culminated in a Team Sleep promo that executives at Maverick received from the band in 2002. They loved it and decided to sign them. But as you may be aware, Team Sleep was hemorrhaging leaked demos. Apparently this happened in 2001 when radio stations were playing Mercedes on air, and then in 2002 the Terry Date sessions were leaked. The volume of leaks were so bad that fans eventually mobilized to organize the leaks in a palatable way. This culminated in a demo compilation often referred to as Off the Record, but the promo given to Maverick didn't have a name. Personally, I think the leaks were caused by people who had access to executives at Maverick and getting their hands on the CD, ripping them to their computer, and then sharing it online. I mean, that's the typical way these things get leaked, right? And as you can imagine, Chino was pissed. He said, "Some people liked it, but some Deftones fans obviously didn't think it was hard enough for their tastes. I was just really bummed that it was incomplete. I never wanted this to be something that had to be released, and it isn't that. It's something I'm doing for fun. Even if I wasn't in the Deftones, I'd probably still be doing music with Todd, and this is that music. It's just something that we have fun doing, and that's why we do it, not because I need to say, hey, look what else I can do." That's why I was so bummed when it was leaked. It would have been cool to have people hear it when it was finished. That really discouraged me, so I stopped for a while and went to work on the Deftones self-titled album. Recording for Deftones' self-titled album began in March 2002 and ended in October the same year, where, once again, we see DJ Crook make yet another contribution to the Deftones catalog by providing instrumentals for their song, Lucky You. Obviously, Deftones would tour in promotion of the album, but surely the Team Sleep album was just around the corner, right? Hell fucking no, because in 2003, the band re-recorded some stuff with legendary producer Ross Robinson, and then Todd, Crook, and Zach recorded new stuff with producer Greg Wells. They released the song The Past Portal for the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack, which in all honesty cannot be listened to because it's just the leaked Team Sleep song Apollonia, without Chino's vocals. And there's more. Because Deftones' self-titled album didn't sell as much copies as Maverick was anticipating, they wanted the band back in the studio as soon as possible. The band agreed, with Abe Cunningham and Chino wanting to work with legend Bob Ezrin. Ironically, these two did not get along with Bob, and unfortunately tensions in Deftones were running high. I've spoken about how Deftones almost broke up in a previous post, but fortunately for Chino, he had an out: Team Sleep. He resumed work with his other friends that he was getting along with at the time, and they finished their eponymous debut album. Friendship had been the driving force behind the collaborations between Chino and Todd, and then Crook. Todd had this to say in an interview with Campus Circle: "We do things differently, so it's got that part of it, but we're also friends. We wouldn't be playing music with anybody else other than our friends. That's a big part of it, and it shows." So, about those leaks. Let's use the so-called off-the-record Maverick promo and then get into the album. Some promos have Death by Plane as the first track, while others have Natalie Portman. I believe Death by Plane must be the first track because it holds a few seconds of the intro to the next track, Apollonia, which we spoke about earlier. Death by Plane is like being haunted by a farewell to someone you love. To me, it is the coldest Team Sleep song, and if I were to guess, based on the quality of the recording, was among the first collaborations with Todd and Chino. This was on loop during my most difficult breakup. Apollonia is pretty aggressive in the chorus, which serves as a nice contrast to the meandering melody in the verses. And as I mentioned earlier, this song featured on the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack, but without Chino's vocals. I mean, maybe they thought the lyrics were too on the nose because the lyrics constantly reference computers, dreams, and TV. Love the song though. Great fucking song. Solid Gold was a warm track that descends into the kind of aggression a bit more characteristic of a Deftones song. Mercedes is... okay. If it was 2001 and this song was the first thing I heard from Chino's side project, I mean, I'd be pissed too. I'm sorry, but listen, if you like the song, great. It's better to like it than to not, right? But honestly, it just doesn't do it for me. Acoustic One is a very versatile song in my mind. You've heard me refer to Team Sleep songs as cold or warm, but this song is decidedly both. I did not know I needed that in my life, but I'm thankful. And Interlude with Abe from Deftones is cool. It's decent. Kool-Aid Party with Mike Patton is interesting, and I guess this is where y'all will hate me, because while I'm glad we got to hear it, I'm glad it wasn't on the album, because thematically or sonically, it doesn't really fit that much. I think it fits better with Chino's other side project, Crosses. Having said that, the song is pretty entertaining. Todd had this to say about the name of the song. When we made that song, we were in the studio and it just sounded real dark and suicidal, like some Jonestown shit. Real dark. We were like, damn, that's some suicidal shit. That's not just suicidal, that's some straight Jonestown shit. And that's how we named it Kool-Aid. Now, onto the album. The final lineup consisted of Chino Moreno, Todd Wilkinson, DJ Crook, Rick Verrett from Tinfed, and Zach Hill, who would go on to create Death Grips years later. Each member contributed various instrumental efforts, and they also produced many of the tracks, with Greg Wells and Ross Robinson producing the rest. The album featured vocals from Helium's Mary Timony on 2 songs, and Rob Crow from Pinback on 4 songs. And I swear to God, I used to think that Rob was a member of the band because he featured so often. Wilkinson said of Rob, "We've all been friends with Pinback for a long time. We were just hanging out, and then he just woke up in the recording studio. That's when he did it. He did 4 songs in 2 days. I love those songs." I've heard it said that the demo compilation was better than the album. I'm torn on this. Some songs like Death by Plane, Apollonia, Solid Gold, and Acoustic One are definitely missed because these songs absolutely shit on some other songs on the album, but you cannot disrespect what Team Sleep came up with for this album. But having said that, I probably won't comment on each of the 15 tracks. Instead, I'll talk about some standout moments. Ever, Foreign Flag, is the re-recorded and mastered version of the leaked song, Cambodia. It was the only single from the album. Now, I love this song because it's like you're being baked in a hot cross bun. It's sweet and warm. Boulevard Nights was also re-recorded and mastered after it was leaked. It was restructured and had vocals from Chino. Sometimes I like to think that when Deftones took Teenager from Team Sleep took Boulevard Nights from Deftones. I mean, isn't that song a bit too powerful and intricate to not be a Deftones song? Ligeia became Tomb of Ligeia. By the way, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you can let me know. It isn't much different from the leak, and my attitude towards it isn't much different either. I don't like it that much, but you know, it's a better song than Mercedes. That's just my opinion, but perhaps it was chosen because it made a better flow for the album. Also, the title's in reference to the Edgar Allan Poe short story of the same name, but I don't know why the album version is misspelt. I mean, Knife Party, anyone? This is one of the 2 songs that featured Mary Timony, with the other one being King Diamond. Todd said that the name for King Diamond was, quote, some drug shit. Live from the stage is Natalie Portman with spacey verses at a faster pace and some heavy instrumentations on the back end. When asked why the song was called Natalie Portman in the first place, Chino answered, "I don't know. I think at that time Star Wars was out. I think when the second one of the new ones was coming out, she was kicking ass. So it was one of those things where we needed a name for a song, so we quickly named it. And by the time when I was putting a version of that on the record, I was kind of upset about the version that I put on the record, because I think a lot of the fans would have liked the older demo version, but I didn't want any kind of legal thing. So there you have it, folks. Chino also preferred the demo to the LP version. If I were to give a short review of Team Sleep's album, I would say, go skateboarding and listen to this. You will be transfixed. That's that. Now, if you're curious about what my favorite songs off the album are, honestly, it would be easier to tell you the songs I didn't like. This is a really strong effort. I'll twist my own arm and tell you my 3 favorite leaked tracks and my 3 favorite album tracks. So, for the leaks, we got Death by Plane, Apollonia, and Acoustic One. For the album, Boulevard Nights, Ever, and Ever Since World War I, and Elizabeth. Okay, that's it. Okay. My judgment on the album is also kind of warped because I was one of those fans who wanted aggressive music at the time, not shoegaze. But as I matured and my musical palette became more diverse, I gradually fell in love with this release. However, in an interview with Denver's Westward in 2010, Chino was asked if he felt good about the album and if he felt it was everything it could have been. He said, quote, "No. Everything it could be is how I'm picturing the 2010 record. Because what that record was, the demos and everything, we had transformed into a live thing. It kind of turned into a live band. And I like the live band versions, but I think it would be great for the live band to write stuff together instead of trying to play stuff we wrote electronically. I think that's what Team Sleep can be. And I think that will be awesome. That's what we're going to try to do on our next record and keep the demos separate. The demos will be what they are, and it's still the same people writing. It's just a different way of doing it. It's just 2 different sides of the brain, I guess." Now, there was no 2010 record from Team Sleep, but Chino was onto something because what they did was release demo compilations through their website for free download, and then in October 2014, the band got together for the Woodstock sessions. Zach had left the band and was replaced by former Dillinger Escape Plan drummer Gil Sharon. Chuck Doom also joined up for bass duties. The Woodstock sessions boasted 2 new songs, No and OP. In September of 2020, Todd Wilkinson underwent open heart surgery to repair his aortic valve and aorta. This was due to being infected as a baby when his umbilical cord was cut. His blood was infected and it was feared that he might not have been able to walk, but it certainly caused damage to his heart. Fortunately, the operation was a success and he was back on his feet in less than a month and back to hiking in 7 weeks. Chino spoke highly of Todd, saying, "He's someone who's very, very inspired in life and does a lot of stuff, whether it's cycling or hiking. He's always out doing stuff, and he's probably one of the most efficient persons in the band. He's pretty much making the majority of the music. He writes the majority of it, and then I come in and put stuff together, and lyrics and stuff like that. But musically, he's a wonder." Wilkinson isn't the most high-profile member of the band. In fact, he's the least known. I've seen his last name misspelt and his first name changed to Tom. Nevertheless, at every junction of Team Sleep's journey, he has been present. He was there in the beginning with Chino. He was there when Crook arrived. The 2 became fast friends and collaborators. When Zach and Rick joined up, he didn't break his stride. He welcomed Sonny on tour because he knew Sonny had more experience and that he needed help. I'm sure he was disappointed in the leaks too, but I haven't found him making a comment about it. He was there for the release of the debut album, and he was there for Woodstock. I'll end the video with his words from his Campus Circle interview in May 2005. There's a lot of times when you're feeling fucked up and it all just makes no sense. You make music and it makes a little bit of sense. When I was younger, when I'd feel fucked up, I would go skateboarding. I would get hurt, and that was like a way of dealing with it. But now, it's like I don't want to get hurt anymore. Music does the same thing. I don't think we need to get any more complicated than saying we just love music and we're friends. That's it. Oh, and we want to do cocaine and strippers. Thanks for watching.